Welcome to Ancient Future Technologies, where we give you the tools to access the past, tap into the future, and fully activate the now. Within the inner reaches of outer space, the portals are now open. From the apex of the pyramid, it's your host, Ankara Akiru. If you'd like to connect and co-create with us, please visit CosmicRootsCreations.com, where you have access to free guided meditations, handcrafted crystal synergy tools, online trainings, and other innovative ancient future technologies. Alright, tribe. I'm really excited today to be bringing to you this next podcast. We are going to be talking to Omolewa, the Entheogenic Midwife. Omolewa is a loving mother, holistic massage therapist, birth doula, midwife's assistant, placenta alchemist, urban gardener, and sacred psychedelic therapist. She is also the host of the Entheogenic Midwife podcast. As a massage therapist of 15 years, she has shared her gift of healing touch and earth medicine with women, men, and children and elders in her community and abroad. Through this healing work, she has cultivated her ancestral and spiritual gifts as a womb worker, keeper of ancient plant medicines, sacred ceremonies, and women's blood mysteries. All right, welcome forward, family. We're here today with Omolewa, and she is the Entheogenic Midwife. And I'm really honored and pleased to be sharing her amazing knowledge with you all today. And thanks for being here with us, Omolewa.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was really a big pleasure to meet you out in Detroit last year at the Detroit Psychedelic Conference. Is kind of how we, linked up in the first place. And it was such a powerful conference, and so many amazing, people, presenters, and it was just really, a powerful experience for me. So I appreciate, you coming on, taking your time today with sharing your information.
Yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to meet you there. Powerful conference. Like, I met you, but it's like we know each other already, So that's the beautiful thing about the psychedelics and the conferences. We come together and you meet family,
Yeah, that's right. Cool. Well, I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about, what it is to be an entheogenic midwife. If you could define, what that means to you, and maybe a little bit about the work that you're doing as an entheogenic midwife.
I'm a massage therapist of many years, as well as a birth worker. And with growing and cultivating the medicine and getting to that work, I noticed so many similarities. How I show up for a woman at a birth is the same way I show up for people that are rebirthing themselves through the psychedelics. So people who find me are looking to be reborn through psychedelics, through higher doses of psychedelics, not high heroic doses, but typically between maybe 8 to 10 grams. So that's what I do. I hold space for people who are rebirthing themselves. I use massage therapy. I use aromatherapy. I use water by way of spiritual baths just to assist them in their process of rebirth. So again, that's who I am as the Entheogenic Midwife, is just ushering people in through that space where surrender is a common theme, where transformation is a common theme, pain, joy, fear, bliss, release. They're all common themes that are with birth and with rebirth through psilocybin mushrooms specifically.
Okay. That's awesome. And so, with this work, you're actually with your clients or with the people that are having the experience with the mushrooms, and you're helping them through the journey, and then also with them for like an integration afterwards. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So I do a consultation piece where we talk about the goals they're looking to achieve. We talk about history. We talk about health history. Just traumas and things like that, whatever people are looking to share. Also, I have questions and things that I ask, and that kind of determines the dose that I feel is best for them.
Okay.
And we go from there. But there are spaces where, just like birth, where people may need to be left alone a bit. So each individual, just like pregnancy, each birth is different. So just depending on the individual's needs. So I'm there more solid in the beginning space, but then there's spaces where I leave people to themselves. So I personally, I prefer to travel alone. And just with birth, it's a balance of being there and serving others, but still allowing spirit to work through them, allowing whatever traumas and things that need to come up for them to do what they need to do without me as well. So it's just a balance. Just, again, like birth, where you're using your intuition to know when to speak, when not to. When to touch, when not to, when to burn sage or copal or incense and when not to, so it's an individual thing.
I got you. And do you go in with your clients on the mushroom experience as well? Like, are you participating in the mushrooms during the journey?
Great question. So far I have not. Just that I'm still growing and learning, but I like to focus on the individual as well as be sensitive to their needs. So I haven't so far, but I am in the near future, looking to journey more with individuals who need a little bit more work or I don't want to say intervention, but some people need a little bit more pull. But just based on some of the results I've been getting, it's just time to evolve and take it to another level. But so far, it's like, when you're with someone who's consuming the psilocybin, there's that synergy. So there's times where I'm still in tune and still feel things, even though I haven't, physically partaken of the fruit.
Yeah,
but definitely that's the next phase. It's almost like, again, like sometimes with birth, women need a little extra help, so that'll be the next phase, is taking the fruit and assisting people who need that little bit of extra assistance.
Yeah. Well, maybe you're even, starting this experience just microdosing yourself, so that, you do have that medicine in your system, and that you're, able to tap deeper into that frequency, and then, see where that takes you. Because I know the microdosing, for a lot of people that I've worked with and done interviews with, the microdosing just is a really valuable experience as well. So it could really, maybe deepen the work a little bit more.
But I can't take less than 4 grams.
Why not?
That's my microdose. Nothing happens if I take anything less than 4.
Oh, wow.
I've tried. I don't know why, but it's like, if I take it, it's just kind of like cannabis in a way. I'll feel a little something. Even cannabis is, more effective than less than 4 grams. I don't know why.
So when you're working with clients, how do you decipher like the amount in grams of mushrooms that they would be useful for them?
I'm really working and leaning more towards getting out of what the dose is.
Okay.
Again, this is such an intuitive mother nature process that takes place. Like, I feel like sometimes we don't need to know everything that's going on. Of course, I'm not going to give anybody like an astronomical amount of medicine, but it's just like the earth. Up until this point, we didn't know how much THC was in the plant.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know how much CBD or however that works is in a plant. So I would really like to get out of specific dose amounts, as a particular way. And I've talked, it's kind of like birth, where some women need to know within their body how the cervix is changing and how the dilation is taking place. But there are some women who, knowing that, can throw them completely off of being in their zone and just being with what their body is doing and with their breath and just tuning into the baby and their environment without the numbers.
That's
you know,
right.
so now we're getting back into the logical and into the head space, and we should be in the heart space, the soul space, the womb space, you know. So it's just more of an intuitive thing with listening to people and, again, getting them out of their head and into their body. That's my goal.
Okay. Oh, I was just curious about when, you know, you're going on these journeys, you're talking about the womb space. I'm curious more about that. If you could like describe that space and like what that means when we're inside of that space.
Well, again, it's going to be unique for the individual. You know, our womb is our God space. That's our creative center. There's a lot of cellular memory, DNA memory, muscular memory that's there. So it just kind of depends on what you hold in that space, the traumas that are present in relation to your birth, you know, in relation to the mothers that have come. So it just depends on the individual, what's happening there and where the body leads and goes. I recently got a story a few days ago from a young lady I've been working with in another state. She actually reached inside of herself and pulled out her IUD. I hadn't ever heard of anything like that. So again, like I say, it just depends on what's going on in that womb space. You know, our wombs are connected to our hearts. You know, so mushrooms being that motherly, loving energy, tapping into that heart and that source love and unconditional love is going to activate the womb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that with us. What I've noticed, you know, particularly in the last 5 years, is there's been like a major resurgence of this psychedelic experience, and you know, there's like a global interest that's awakening and you know, reconnecting with our ancestry, reconnecting with this plant medicine, and remembering ourselves and who we are. And so I was just curious of what your thoughts are on the rebirthing of psychedelics, so to speak, in this time, and like why that's occurring in this time.
Well, at this time, more than ever, you know, we're in the information age, you know, where everybody's kind of being bombarded with truth, whether you want it or not. With being a massage therapist for so many years, I find like the human body was not created for the amount of stress and pressure and oppression and suppression that we are currently under. So I just find like human evolution is requiring it, you know. But what I would personally like to see happen is people, again, taking it more seriously, cultivating their own medicine, and again, seeking the truth and seeking God, their God self, on their own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not against groups. I'm not against retreats, but I still feel like it's still an individual thing that needs to happen and occur. Just like birth, you don't need 20 people at your birth. You know,
That's
one
right.
of the midwives that I work with, she says every extra person at your birth adds on an extra hour to your labor, you know. So sometimes I just think, you know, you have people who need the synergy, they need the group setting, the support, the love, but you have those people with the deeper layers of trauma that need to face it on their own, or with a gatekeeper.
Okay. What is, I know that you recently started a podcast yourself called the Entheogenic Midwife. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us more about your podcast and, you know, some of your guests and topics and things that you are tapping into with the Entheogenic Midwife podcast?
Yeah, so the Entheogenic Midwife is a newer podcast where it's a divine feminine portal into the realms of consciousness, holistic health, entheogens. I personally work with psilocybin again, but it's about any and all entheogens, and birth as well. So some of the guests are like Sophia Ladybugs, who is a dope Black witch and farmer out of Youngstown, Ohio. I had Catherine McLean, who was one of the lead researchers, scientists with Johns Hopkins with the terminal illness studies with psilocybin, but we were in the retrograde and I didn't capture the whole show. We have Britta Love, who is a somatic sex educator. We have Gogo Ateo Ngezi, who is a Sangoma ancestral medicine woman. So it's just, so far, women sharing their medicine, sharing their gifts, sharing how they're showing up for women and men, and through entheogens, through other ancestral herbs and practices, as well as me just sharing my thoughts, about and education. So for many people who are new to entheogens, as well as seasoned psychonauts, just to have a place where we can come and be loved and be educated. There's no ego involved, so it's a sacred space.
Beautiful. And where are you on? I think you're on Anchor, is that right?
It's on Anchor, but it's also available on like 8 other platforms. I'm still learning how all this works, but it's like on a Google thing. It's on iTunes. There's a few more. Like I say, there's 8 different platforms that it's available on right now. I don't know how to host it and get it out to other places right now, but just kind of allowing it to grow and do what it's doing, just like a birth, so it's still in its beginning stages. And as it gets bigger and grows, like it's really gonna take off and continue to transform into something more beautiful and powerful.
Yeah, and it's something that is really needed right now, particularly with women sharing their stories and people of color sharing their stories. And these have been groups in the past that have been sort of subjugated and not really been brought forward into the light of like what's really happening, and that some of the most important transformations and some of the most important and compelling things are happening on that particular level. So it's really amazing that women like yourself are stepping more into that role of presenting this work, on a global platform where people can, people that are in foreign countries or maybe states where it's more difficult to, connect with people that have these similar type of experiences, or they want to have an experience like that themselves. It's a really important way to, connect and grow that psychedelic community. So we definitely really appreciate the work that you're doing on that level.
Thank you. Yeah, it's becoming so male dominated. Again, it's becoming such a left brain thing, that, I want to continue to capture the sacredness of the work and still keep us in tuned inside of ourselves and focused on the true goal.
Yeah, that's beautiful. We had talked a little bit in our previous conversation about the importance of growing your own mushrooms and growing, really in general, whatever plant medicine it is that you're utilizing to be more connected to that, to the growing cycles and phases of that specific plant. So I was hoping that you could tell us more about the importance of being able to grow and connect with the mushrooms.
Absolutely. Urban gardener. I've cultivated cannabis in past years and now the psilocybin. And just finding that when you have that relationship with the earth, with offering and receiving, that there's divine blessings that come with it. So what I found with growing psilocybin, and again, we're still using natural spores and mycelium and things like that, which we don't create ourselves. So we're still working, co-creating with the earth. In that process, I feel that The experiences tend to be more profound, that there's a greater, even through that, we become better farmers, better gardeners, better mothers, and just better at any of the cultivation that we do. It's like a bit of an anointing that comes with it. You know, there's a trust. It's just like from seed to table. Oh, so looking at the fruits of your labor, you mentioned when you grow your own vegetables and herbs, like you may, and Sophia talks about this, she says you may need a pound of herbs from Mountain Rose Herbs to have the same effect that a teaspoon of your own may have. You know, so there's just a certain magic when you're cultivating and taking care and raising, you know, the psilocybin. So I definitely recommend more people cultivate their own medicine and begin to build that relationship from the tiny little spores all the way to the fruit that gives you that big bang, you know, and just finding that a lot of these doctors and therapists, just a lot of people that are team psilocybin and this and that and that and this, I feel like, wait a minute, we're moving out of the sacred space. I don't think these people grow. You know, I'm noticing now, you know, I don't think these people cultivate. It seems like the cultivators are a little bit more smooth and easy go. Many of you are able to even have these experiences because of the love and the nurturing and the sacred spaces and the purpose and the intentions that we put into the work. So valuing the cultivators, you know, respecting the cultivators, taking care of us, even, you know, but definitely if you're not in a position to, you know, that's if you're not in a position to cultivate. Otherwise, definitely that's a part of your journey. You know, I have a brother that I'll be working with soon, out of Oakland, you know, and that should be a part of the process. You know, that's a bit of the rites of passage. You know, you can just say, you know, hey, let me get a few grams. And you're like, okay, here you go. And it's like, wow, I had a great experience. But if you were, you know, gifted or given the spores or the mycelium and you take the time and nurture it just like a baby, then you can, you know, I just feel like it's a greater respect involved for your practice, for your psilocybin practice. Because to me, it is a spiritual practice. So just being more accountable and purposeful with what we're doing. You know, it's just not, again, a vacation that you're taking. You know, this is your life. This is the medicine that's going inside of your body. So what better person to cultivate it? You know, if you grow it in your home, you know, I feel it's acclimated to your environment. It's acclimated to your children, your spouse. You know, you may be able to tap into the cat or the dog's needs, you know, or just the people who come and go and the energies that come out of your space, you know, all become a part of your medicine.
That's right. Yeah. And something that I've noticed with this resurgence of psychedelics is that many of the sacred plants like peyote and even ayahuasca at this point have been sort of over harvested or abused in a way that the plant is now receding, and it's much more difficult to attain these plants. And you know, I feel like mushrooms are so abundant and they grow so easily and they grow everywhere, and there's like really no shortage of them. So you know, I feel like cultivating mushrooms is a really powerful thing because, as you said, not only are you giving yourself access to it, but you're actually honoring the plant in that way, that you're reproducing the fruits and you're, you know, contributing to its growth. And then therefore, you know, in your experience, as you said, you have much more of a deeper and powerful experience because you're directly linked to that fungus from spore to fruit. And it's like you know, the fullness of that cycle is reflected within your journey with that mushroom.
Absolutely. And I want to add what I find is interesting, that I have some people who do travel on their own or in their own spaces. When we do the integration piece, they're like, you were there. You know, when I was in a tough space, I saw your face and you told me to breathe, or you laid your hand on my back, and that comforted me when I was in a tough space. I was like, wow. You know, so again, even the people who do cultivate, how is their spirit? How is their home? How is their heart? You know, when they're cultivating the medicine, like, that matters. Like, I haven't had any bad experiences, you know, for lack of better words. And the individuals and couples that I serve haven't had any bad experiences. So even when you have people who do, yes, it's kind of just you coming out, but maybe it matters with the medicine person, where you're getting your medicine from, you know. I like to be in control of certain things, even though, of course, with the work, it's about releasing and surrendering. But as far as medicine goes and things like that, we're supposed to, just like our food. We're, you know, probably 90% of people do not grow their own food. That's a major problem. That's your basic foundational need that you have. We don't need a TV. We don't need phones. You know, we're not cultivating our own food and medicine, and we have to depend on everybody else to do it. You know, that says something in itself and really does need to be reevaluated as a society goes. They say we grow lawns and not gardens, you know. And once these pharmaceutical companies get a hold to this, well, they already have a hold of it, but like, I saw an article today where they're trying to generate psilocybin from E. coli cultures.
Oh, wow.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. That's crazy, though.
It's on that Entheogenic page, and I was like, I couldn't even read the whole article. I'm like, see, this is what happens. Excuse my French, but it was not my French. But when these white male supremacists get a hold to the medicine, like, they're going to take it and tweak it. And what happens ultimately is they remove the spirit out of it. You know, that's the part that we need, is the spirit, you know, in its natural form, the way Mother Earth intended it to be. Again, just like birth. I got into this work, you know, both of my children were born via cesarean. You know, that's why I'm a doula and hold space for women who aren't educated, because now I understand when you don't have a culture of birth, when you don't have your own culture of medicine, it's easy for other people to come in and manipulate you. And one of my personal uploads. But when I was reading that article, it made me think about time machines. You know, we're going to have these spaces where we protect our medicine. You know, it's already criminalized. Like, so what's going on here? So yes, again, we're going to have to move into more sacred spaces. Like, even as far as with myself, I don't plan on doing the podcast for long. I don't plan on doing conferences and interviews and things for long. This is just for education to kind of open it. But the portal will close because, again, we're putting our thoughts and knowledge and wisdom out into the very people who will and can, well, I'll say can, I won't say will, they can use it to turn around and destroy us and our future.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thanks for shining light on that. So I'm curious, what do you have coming up for yourself as far as, events or offerings that you might, be putting out there into the world?
Well, right now, just focusing a bit more on the podcast, getting some blogs up on my website again. I've been doing a little bit of traveling with with some mushroom events, but really honing in more on the podcast, on doing some traveling with cultivation workshops and lectures. I'll be doing the International Drug Policy Conference in November. So I'm super excited about that. It's like a 4-day thing, and we have one day where we'll be talking about different topics. So I want to really be up on my game. You know, I hate the word game, but I really want to be up on the information and the knowledge and articulating things the way I really want to and really need to with this work.
Yeah.
And then the beginning of the year, hopefully the end of the year, I'll be back in Jamaica. So looking forward to continuing to grow there and build and offer a safe space off of this soil that we have here, and just really introduce people into a more loving and nurturing, high vibrational environment.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Omolewa. I really appreciate your time, and it was really great to have this interview with you. I feel like you shared so much good information. And just real quickly, where can people find you at? I know you have the Entheogenic Midwife podcast, and is there any other means that people can connect with you?
Yes, I'm Sweet Serenity Company, I believe _ somewhere in there. Sweet Serenity Company on Instagram, Omolewa, Entheogenic Midwife on Facebook. And I have a Sweet Serenity Company page. My number is out there. So if anybody wants to call anytime, day or night, if you're having a difficult space in a journey, need any kind of integration work or work to prepare for your journey, like, I am available.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, Omolewa.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, we'll be talking to you soon, all right? Thank you, dear.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, Tribe. Please take a moment to subscribe to the Ancient Future Technologies podcast and head over to our website at cosmicrootscreations.com, where you can amplify your journey with free guided meditations, as well as innovative crystal synergy tools, copper pyramid portals, online trainings, and other innovative ancient future technologies. Signing out from the apex of the pyramid is your host, Ankara Akiru. Wholeness, balance, and vibrations.